We're here with Ben Rock, producer, director, writer extraordinaire.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ben. You're welcome. I just, look, I love your work, and we have a bit of a history, and we'll go into that in a moment. Let's do this. First off, I met Ben during, was it your first film?
Yeah, it was my first feature, yeah.
Yeah, which was entitled Alien Raiders.
Alien Raiders,
the
yeah.
Film, much better than the title.
Thank you.
Ben had nothing to do with that title.
That was not my choice.
Ben has gone on to some really incredible stuff, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But Ben and I have had the opportunity to work with an incredible gentleman, Stuart. He was the director of Reanimate. He was also, I believe, producer and on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
He wrote it. He created the idea. He wrote Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
The idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about Stu and how you met him.
Well, I'd met Stuart a couple of times because I was, a massive, massive fan, obviously, not just from his horror movies in the 80s, which Reanimator, From Beyond, Dolls, Castle Freak. I mean, you can go on and on. I love his movies. But also, I'm also a theater nerd in addition to being a horror nerd. And so I knew that he had created the Organic Theater in Chicago, which was that was where Dennis Franz and Joe Mantegna and lots of, humongous actors, Keith Sarabeka, a lot of them got their first start in the 60s and early 70s. And I knew a little bit about the Organic Theater because I'm from Orlando, Florida. And in Orlando, there was a theater called Theater Downtown, and the guy who ran it, his name was Frank Hilgenberg, and Frank was kind of a protege of Stewart's. And so when I was working on a play, I was 19 doing special effects makeup on a play for Frank, and I found out that he knew Stewart, or that he'd worked with Stewart, and I was like, tell me more. And one of the things he told me was, I was giant fan of Kurt Vonnegut at the time. I was reading all of Vonnegut's books. He's like, oh yes, Stewart did an adaptation of The Sirens of Titan, which happened to be my favorite Vonnegut book, at the Organic in the mid 70s. Flash way the hell forward. That was when I was 19. When I was well into my 40s, I was an artistic director. I was one of 3 artistic directors at a small theater in Hollywood called Sacred Fools. And so part of what you do as an artistic director is you choose the season. And my friend Janelle Riley came up to me and said, I just read this script. You have to read it. We'd already kind of figured our season out. But she's like, you have to read this. Stuart Gordon wants to direct it. And I was like, done, but I probably can't do it. I probably can't get it in there. And that was a script by a guy named Benjamin Brand called Taste. And it's, to this day, one of the best scripts, if not the best script, one of the top 3 scripts I've ever read in my life. Just an amazing script with Stuart attached. And I brought it to the other artistic directors and basically made the case, and they agreed because it was such a great script. And we were able to produce that play that season. And I direct a lot of theater, but I asked Stuart if I could be his assistant director. An assistant director in theater is very different than the way it is in film. But that basically meant that I kind of had a front row seat to watch how he put that play together. And I was also a producer on the play, as was Janelle, who gave me the script. And so I was all up in the process, and I got to work very.
When you invited me to see it, I was very hesitant because the idea was so weird and out there. And at the end of the play, I remember everybody standing up and applauding, standing ovation. It was amazing. And the power of the actors. It was a great testament to Stuart. It really was.
It really was. Stuart was amazing. And just watching how he staged that play and how he worked with the actors. There's only 2 actors in the play. It's a very, for those who are unfamiliar with it, listening to us, it's about a guy who puts an ad on the internet for someone who he can murder and eat, and somebody responds to it. and the whole play is just the two of them meeting at his apartment that night. So it's just two characters. There's a full working kitchen at the center of the play, and stuff is cooked and eaten on stage.
Some technical difficulties, but
oh, can you hear me? Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you were breaking up and freezing.
I'm going to close everything on my computer that isn't Zoom. Sometimes
it's possibly I don't know if it's on your end or my end.
My internet's
hold on one second.
Usually pretty good.
Pardon?
Can you hear me?
Now it's your visual, Ben. Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay, I just quit out of every other app that I was running, and just in case, I'm going to pause, make sure Dropbox isn't syncing anything. Nope, nothing's syncing. Sorry about that, Ray.
That's okay. We'll do the best we can. Let's talk about independent filmmaking. Now, we have a lot of independent filmmakers out here that have entered their films in festivals. You've done that quite a time.
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, you froze on me that time.
I don't know.
Hello?
Tracy? Some kind of technical difficulty here with the Zoom call. I don't know if it's the internet or what. Okay, it says your internet connection is unstable. Okay.
How many people are on Wi-Fi? The only people that should be on Wi-Fi is you, like me.
Right.
I think the signal's just low.
Okay. They're telling me that the signal is low. It's going to come in and out.
Yeah,
We're using a hotspot.
Yeah,
So
that'll.
Ben, well, this is what happens when you do Zoom meetings. Let's see. Okay, if you can talk about a little bit about your experience with film festival.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with film festivals. I even worked at one for a few years. I was the projectionist at the Florida Film Festival, which is an amazing festival if you get a chance to ever go in Orlando. But yeah, I mean, well, you know, I've been sending my stuff out to film festivals since I was in college. I have had a bit of luck. Probably the project I worked on that had the most festival love was the Blair Witch Project, which got into Sundance. I did not direct that, but I was the production designer, and I was part of the team that created it. And Sundance, you know, changed the trajectory of that film and the lives of everybody involved with it. I've sent when I made Alien Raiders for Warner Brothers. In fact, when they told me that it was going to be entitled Alien Raiders, I asked them if I could do a festival run with it, and I did it at my own expense. But we premiered at Fantastic Fest, which is an amazing festival. I met you because of that. You were at it was the Phoenix. It was the horror festival of part of the Phoenix Film Festival, right?
Right, that was the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival in Phoenix.
That was it. Yeah. And it was it then part of the Phoenix International Film Festival, or did it?
Yeah,
later
it was, but it was its own separate entity at the time, and then later they merged.
That was a great festival, by the way. That was just a fun festival. Really well programmed. I saw a lot of films there. It was, the people there were really nice. Yeah, that was great. You know, but we played Shriek Fest, Shocker Fest. We played, basically they gave me about a 2 or 3 month window to play. The company that made my film was called Raw Feed, and they had a film called Rest Stop 2 that came out right like in August. So I basically had from September through when our movie came out in January to submit it. But the good news was, because it's kind of a horror sci-fi thing, that meant that I could hit all the genre festivals, and I'm a big fan of those. The New York City Horror Film Festival, which at the time was run by the late Michael Hine, great festival. I'd had a short there a few years earlier, and I love genre festivals as a film goer and as a filmmaker. As a film goer, obviously I like genre films, and it's fun to go, see just a bunch of horror, sci-fi, anime, whatever. And then as a filmmaker, the people who go to those festivals are going to be the people who are most excited to see the kind of stuff I keep trying to make. So, like I've played at bigger festivals. I had a short a few years ago that got into Tribeca. That was very exciting. Tribeca's, world-class festival.
Right.
And this is not a knock on Tribeca, but I feel like festivals like Tribeca, and there's some other festivals, they're huge. And so you have to fight a little more just to be noticed in the sea of all the major stars and all that stuff. Whereas when you're at a genre festival, the people who come see your film are the people who want to see a film like yours. They're very appreciative that you've showed up. And again, as a viewer, like, when I went to that one in Phoenix, or when I went to Shocker Fest or Shriek Fest or Fantastic Fest, which is, in my opinion, the best genre festival, probably my favorite film festival I've ever attended, period. Fantastic Fest just had great programming, amazing filmmakers in attendance, amazing fans, great venues. Like, it's just like a week-long party with all your best friends watching all these amazing films. I think festivals, people in this day and age where you can just stick a movie up on YouTube or Vimeo and anyone on earth can watch it, ask, well, what's the purpose of a festival? And I feel like being able to interact with the audience, either as an audience member or a filmmaker, is invaluable, and you can't really do it any other way. I
agree with you wholly. There is this feeling of when you were, God, I don't want to mention those festivals, but some of the bigger festivals, I'll just leave it at that. The real big festivals seem to be just an extension, an arm for the studios who have their own, what is it called? Their own art lineup.
Yeah.
But they're still studio films. They're backed by the studio. They have big stars, and it's much harder for a struggling independent to get out there and show their true voice.
Yeah.
And that's what this festival is all about, is,
that's great.
Giving independent people their chance, and not just from California, but all over the world, which is great. So,
yeah.
And we have documentaries, we have features, we have shorts. Have you heard of, this is the first time I've heard of micro shorts. Have you heard of those?
I've not heard of, how long is a micro short?
A micro short film is under 5 minutes. Now, can you imagine trying to get your point across in under 5 minutes?
I did a web series where, like, our longest episode
was right. 20 seconds to live.
Yeah.
Right?
All of our, most of our episodes were about 2.5 minutes long. So I should have submitted.
Right. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us about 20 Seconds to Live.
20 Seconds to Live is one of my main partners in crime is a guy named Bob DeRosa, and Bob and I have been working together for years. And at that very same theater, Sacred Fools, he and I did a ton of late night, gross out, whatever, like small shows. They have an ongoing show called Serial Killers, where it's 5 one-act plays that kind of end with a cliffhanger, and the audience votes to bring 3 back for the next week. So you have a week to write, direct, stage, sound design, light design, everything, a whole other show. And we did that for years and years. And at one point I was like, if we put the same effort into like a film project, we might be onto something. We might have something we could really show around and get some traction out of. And we kind of started talking about making like a web series. And the idea of 20 Seconds to Live is kind of built around keeping it short. And it's our belief that, it's not our belief, I think it's just a fact. Attention spans are crazy short online. So if you're going to ask someone to watch a web series, don't ask them to watch a 45-minute web series. And I have seen web series with 45-minute long episodes. Don't ask for that. That's a big ask. Like, that better be a scintillating 45 minutes. But we had episodes that were as short as 1.5 minutes. And the basic premise is it's an anthology, which means it's new characters every episode, and we would have a setup of these new characters in a new situation, and then at a certain point our title card came up, 20 Seconds to Live, and then the 20 dropped down and became a countdown. So 20 seconds later, someone was going to die. One of the characters you met was going to die. and it was just a lot of fun. And we didn't really challenge ourselves with this, but we kind of noticed that we sorry, my 3-year-old son is about to run in here. We never shot any. There were no guns in the whole thing. Like, it was always a little bit more Rube Goldberg-ish. And we were able to explore lots of genres. Like, you know, we did one that kind of looks like an emergency room, you know, an ER kind of thing. We did one that's a vampire thing. We did one that was a time travel, straight up science fiction thing. You know, we kind of, we weren't really stuck in any genre, and it was a way for us to work with a lot of actors. And we brought in some of our friends who are like known in the horror world, like Derek Mears, Adam Green, Dan Myrick, Graham Skipper. You know, we got some really cool horror buddies in there, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun. Most of the episodes shot in about a day, and our DP is a guy named George Foyt, who I've worked with for years, and like, we wanted them to look like television. We put a lot of work into making them look and sound and feel like they had a much bigger budget than they had, because they had like almost no budget.
Well, let me ask this. How can people still see this?
Oh yeah, if you go to 20secondstolive.com or
Okay.
20stl.com, they're all online.
Great.
Also on Facebook, where we have a Facebook group, and they're all there too.
Okay. And do you have anything else you want to plug?
Another thing that I did with Bob, actually, I would love to plug, which was a podcast. So maybe not perfect for a film festival, but it used a lot of our film skills, our filmmaking skills. It's called Video Palace. And it's a horror fiction podcast that Bob and I co-wrote based on a concept from that my friend Mike Manello and Nick Braccia had come up with, and stars Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End, and Devin Siddell, she was in 31. She's been in a million things. She's an amazing actor, and it's basically like a first-person investigative podcast, like a serial kind of a thing, except the mystery that we're going to uncover during this is a horrible, Lovecraftian, terrible paranormal thing. And it's all fiction, but we kind of made it so it sounded like Serial or In the Dark, or one of those things where you've, you know, got someone walking around with one of these and interviewing people. And we actually recorded a lot of it on one of those. And it was a lot of fun. And we made that for Shudder. So it's on Shudder, but you can also get it for free anywhere you get podcasts.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Ben. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me. It's great to see you, Ray.
Oh, great to see you.
It's been too long, man.
Yeah. Listen, you take care. And
you too.
You have a happy holidays from the Santa Clarita International Film Festival.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great festival.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.